Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi. Christian, I'm Ben DeBono.
I'm Ben Kirkwald.
And I'm Emily Kirkwald.
And here we are. We've got Emily for the first time this season.
Yeah.
You've been watching with your sister.
Yep.
Right, so you haven't been able to join us here.
Right.
Well, plus you guys have a 1-year-old, so that
Yeah.
logistics are a little bit tougher, but we're glad to have you. Welcome back. It hasn't been the same without you. So just quickly, what? Not including tonight. Just catch everybody up. What have you thought of this season? Have you enjoyed it? Disappointed? What did you think?
Well, this has been the best season, I would say. Just a lot of things that you've been waiting for, hoping for to happen, happened. A lot of big surprises.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say best season for myself. I would say, though, most, in terms of payoffs, this has been the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the furthest this season.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of fan service or just stuff we've been waiting for. The scene at the end here, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, when Danny's on the ship, so I got very excited. I said, when we were watching, I've been waiting for this for 15 years, which is, I was calculating in my mind. So I'm 30. I started watching this, or not watching the show, I started reading these books probably in 2002, 2001, 2002, sometime around when I turned 16 or 17, something like that. So it's almost been half my life.
Jeez.
Just waiting for Danny to go to Westeros.
Yeah, so,
life.
that's where, I said this, I think, at the beginning of the season. I had a number of people ask me, are you going to wait for the books? Now that the show is caught up. Hell no! I've been waiting so long! I'm not gonna let some idiot who just, plowed through 5 seasons in the last month find this stuff out before me. So, yeah. Alright, so we did finally make it to find some new tobacco.
Yeah, we did, finally. We've had it on the show before, but I just liked it enough. I have a 9 to 5. Which is an English tobacco. It says medium on here. I think it's a little bit darker, but I really like it. It's nice, smooth. It's not quite as intense as some of the other ones we've had.
Yeah, I've had that one before, and that's good. I have another one we've had before called Boone's Blend, which is an aromatic, which was really good. Then I also bought something yesterday called Swampy's Blend that I had and really enjoyed as well. So after 9 weeks of just smoking the same stuff, we finally made it over to the tobacco store. We'll have to do better before next season or something. I don't know.
Stock up.
Yeah, we'll go before the first episode, and we'll buy a bunch of different ones, and then
10 different ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
Yeah, well, we only need 7. 7 episode season next year.
Yeah.
All right, and now a beer that I think you're going to enjoy because you're a fan of Browns.
I'm super excited about this.
So this is from Eastlake Brewery in Minneapolis. It's called Good Old Gnarly Brown. It is a double brown ale, which it feels like I've never seen Imperial Browns, double browns before, and then it feels like we've had 3 or 4 of them this year just on the show. So they're becoming a thing, and I like that. So I bought a bottle of this about a week ago for the show. And then I drank it on Friday.
just wait.
And it was really good. And then I was thinking, oh man, now I gotta get something else for the show. And so I was over at the liquor store yesterday, after we went to the tobacco store, and I thought, grab another one of these. These are good. So, good old Gnarly Brown. So I'll pour a little and pass it down, I guess is what we'll have to do. We're a little more spread out with 3 than...
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's,
We're happy to fill out the couch.
Exactly. Well, I'm just thinking, in previous years when we've done 3, we started on the folding chairs before I remodeled out here.
Yeah.
And then we were on the old couch and we're all pretty close together. And now we're much more spread out on this couch. But,
oh my gosh. The folding chairs.
Yeah.
We're mosquito ridden and just... Oh.
Well, the good old days. I used to... not that anybody cares about my home improvement projects, but before I remodeled this into my office / home theater, I want to come out and smoke and read and stuff at night. And I'm not going to smoke in the house because this room is disconnected from the rest of the house, so that's why I can smoke out here. And I bought a mosquito net one year, just kind of like hung it up so that I could, survive the Minnesota mosquitoes. Anyway, what do you think of that?
It's really good. It's definitely a little more full than a brown usually is.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of liking the double brown, or we had that brown stout, or even the against the grain stout you brought last time had some of those similar characteristics.
Yeah, It still has that brown malty characteristic to it, but it has a little bit more with it as well. Maybe even a little citrusy almost.
Yeah.
Can't quite tell what that is.
So then the best part is that here on the bottle it says return to the tap room for $1 discount. So I have the one I drank on Friday, and we have this one, so you and I get to go down to, well, you can come too, Emily. We can go down to the tap room sometime, though we might have to drink a third bottle if you want to come sneak along with
sure.
it.
Oh, sorry.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
All right. So much to get to in this episode. Just off the top of your head, biggest shock. What was the biggest surprise?
Arya.
Arya, Tommen. I'd agree with you, Emily. I think Arya. I mean, they were both good, but I
had no idea.
I had no idea. I should have seen it coming. And I tell you what threw me off is we'll get into this more, but there is the whole Frey pie thing is done in the books. I didn't catch it on my first time through either.
Okay.
It's really, it's buried and it's subtle, but it is in Dance with Dragons. Obviously not with Arya there. And so I thought, okay, they're ripping off of that, and I was not thinking Arya at all, but that was great.
Yeah.
There's so much to get to in this episode.
Should we just start at the beginning and just...
I feel like we should end with King's Landing. So I feel like let's get a couple of the small ones out of the way.
Small ones. Okay.
Well, Sam.
Okay,
yeah.
Which wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
No, it's good.
Yeah, there was not a bad thing in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was good.
Yeah.
But this was definitely in terms of big revelation. Sam got to Old Town.
Right.
How much you care maybe depends on how excited you were about seeing Old Town. I was fairly excited.
I was excited to see
Yeah.
Old Town.
That library was pretty amazing.
Well, don't get too excited about it. No women, no children. So
Yeah.
you're not allowed, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry.
The most highly educated of the
I
three of us on the couch. You're not allowed in.
It'll be interesting to see how they're going to speed that up, because if we do only have 15 or so episodes left of the series,
Yeah.
and he needs to be a maester for sure by the end.
Which is like going to get your doctorate.
Right. So he's going to get his doctorate in 15 episodes. I feel like we're going to do a little montage, or there could be...
Yeah. He needs a Rocky-style montage. Exactly. We need the montage song from South Park on this show.
Yes. To America.
Yes. Yeah. Both. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's
Okay.
yes. That's such a great song that they reused it, which is fantastic. Yeah. So, I think I talked about that in a previous episode. How Sam showing up at Old Town to become the Maester was, I think, something that Martin envisioned when there was going to be this 4 or 5 year gap between books 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So even in the books, it's a problem that I'm not sure how he's going to deal with it. But you're right. We have 13 episodes to go.
Right.
And
It's going to be an issue, but I'm sure that they thought about it, otherwise he wouldn't have gone there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or they'll just, they play fast and loose with the timeline on this show quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, oh, you're already smart, you can have 5 rings. Only 1 more ring to go. Or
Yes.
like whatever it is.
That is, by the way, one of the reasons why Martin is so slow is because he is obsessive about the timeline. One of the reasons Dance with Dragons took so long is you have all the people kind of colliding in Marine at the end of that book.
Yeah.
And trying to figure, he's really stressing out about the timeline of who's showing up when and where is everybody going to
How
be.
is this
Exactly. And the show, for better or worse, just kind of shrugs their shoulders and says, there they are.
It'll be fine.
That was like, when I noticed that Varys was on the ships, it was like, how did he get back from Dorne and here so quickly?
Well, how did he get to Dorne so quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just, don't waste your time thinking too much about the timeline.
Right. Well, if you obsess over that stuff, wait for the books. Martin's anal about it, and he'll deliver on that.
Right.
All right, let's talk about Dorne a little bit, because there were audible shouts of "No!" in this room when we saw Dorne on the previous day of Game of Thrones.
No, they cannot come back, please.
We were all hoping.
Just let them die.
Then the Queen of Thorns ran south to save the Dorne subplot
Right.
by saying exactly what we all have been wanting to say, which was "shut up" to all of the Sand Snakes.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
Yeah, I think she was probably one of the only characters that really could have gone there and saved Dorne.
Yes. Now, chronologically, we're out of place here because all of this obviously happens after Mace Tyrell is killed and Marjorie in the King's Landing, so we'll get to that. But it seems pretty obvious that the Tyrells are going to be allied with Dany.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Dany has allies.
Which makes absolute sense because they would have allied with Dany regardless, probably. because
Probably.
They hate
They-
the Lannisters.
They hate the Lannisters, and they
But the
were...
pretense is gone now. That's the big
Right.
difference, is that they had political reasons to not.
Right.
Outwardly
yes.
be against them, and now they have reason to be against
Right.
them.
And just in case you blinked and missed it, or I guess whatever the ear equivalent of blinked is, the Lannisters have declared war on House Tyrell. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
So that apparently happened in between all of this other excitement.
Right. They cut that scene or something.
Yes. Or just
I mean,
didn't film
her
it.
burning them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Varys showing up was great. So, did we actually have a good Dorne episode?
It was short.
Short, sweet.
Yeah,
Mostly it was non-Dornish people talking.
Very true. I think that it'll be interesting to see how that all kind of plays out over the next season here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, well, I don't know. It all depends where Dany lands.
Yes. All right. So here's what I think we should do. It's all big stuff from here on out. So let's talk Freys.
Okay.
Let's talk Winterfell and Bran kind of at the same time.
Okay.
Let's talk Marine. And then I think we have to end with King's Landing, because that's where the big stuff
Alright,
was.
Let's do it.
sounds good.
Yeah, the Frey stuff was pretty great. I mean, I'm a little bit upset that it never became an issue with Walder Frey that Ramsay killed his daughter and his grandchild.
Yeah.
Like, that seemed like
But
that
it
was
was
a plot
also,
point right there.
but I mean, he has so many daughters, I guess. And, I mean, he chose the fattest one because he was giving a dowry for each pound or something.
Yeah.
So it didn't
But
seem-
still, this is a guy who massacred House Stark because they broke a marriage vow.
Right.
And so I'm a little disappointed that wasn't a factor in the Freys coming back this season. But still, this was really good.
But this was also maybe after Ramsay was killed?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that this was Frey's eventual fate. I just...
You feel like
It was like
something-
right out there. It was inconsistent with what we've seen with the Freys in the
Very
story.
true.
I get time and all of that stuff, but have the Freys send some soldiers or something. Or
Right.
You could have introduced some complexity there with, do we ally with the Freys at the Battle of the Bastards? And do we make a deal with the devil to kill Ramsay? And there was opportunities there that you could have worked in for some interesting complexity, but we didn't. Bronn and Jaime had a great scene here. Not blonde enough for you.
Ooh, too much.
That was awesome. And then Walder Frey and Jaime was pretty great too.
That was a good conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, why do
We're
we
both
have you?
Kingslayers, but
Mhm.
clearly gone about it completely differently and for completely different reasons. Jaime's killing is more of a mercy to everybody, whereas the Freys are just trying to get what they want. So
Yeah, remind me let's talk about Jaime's killing of Ares again when we get to the King's Landing story. Because, well, that was never brought up. I think that's very relevant to what we saw in King's Landing. And then, of course, Arya does the Frey pie, which is great.
Yeah.
And then...
To be honest, I thought that Arya, the character that was Arya before then, I thought that was going to be like Rob's wife's sister. Because she kind of had that same complexion.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh.
You know? So that's what I thought it was. I thought it was that family, you know, getting in on the inside, trying to kill.
Yeah, and it was really a fake out for me because what I was thinking was, okay, we had Ramsay died last week in a really gruesome and horrible, but satisfying from a fan standpoint way.
Right.
You know, when Joffrey dies, the reaction that we all have is he deserved worse than just choking at his wedding. That's part of what is great about that twist, is that you get your character death, but Martin draws you into the bloodthirstiness of the story. And we get that bloodthirstiness last week with Ramsay. And then when you see what's going on with Walder Frey, even before, you know, Arya reveals herself to get stabbed, I'm thinking to myself as, okay, here we're back to kind of another Joffrey type killing, where by rights this should be a Stark killing him, and it's not. Right. And then, holy shit, it's Arya! Away we go.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Hats off to anybody who saw that coming. I wasn't even close.
No.
No.
I wasn't even thinking Arya.
It was awesome, though.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yes. Alright, Winterfell. Let's start there and we'll work in Bran as we go.
Okay.
So we have Davos and Melisandre. Really good scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Davos finally gets to confront her and actually finally has it go his way with the leader or person in charge. You know, he tried to Stannis so many times, and Stannis threw him in jail instead of her, but now she's clearly gone too far. Jon, knowing that he might still need her, doesn't kill her, but sends her away.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to send the person who brings you back to life to death.
Yeah, and you get the feeling Jon's going to regret this decision.
Yeah, you really do. You feel like he almost had to bite the bullet there of just accepting that evil that happened in the past.
Yes. And the actor who plays Davos, and I don't remember his name at the moment, but really fantastic performance here. So for everybody watching at home, here is your off-season viewing assignment. So the actor who plays Davos is in a movie called Hunger by Steve McQueen, and he plays a Catholic priest. So Hunger is about the IRA hunger strikes in the early 80s. And he's just brilliant in that movie as well. There's a 17-minute scene between him and Michael Fassbender, who plays the main character, where it's one shot, just them debating the morality of hunger strikes. It's phenomenal. So, I started thinking about that when I was watching the scene, because he just gives a hell of a performance. So there's your off-season Game of Thrones viewing. Go watch Hunger by Steve McQueen. Great movie and a great performance by him.
Huh.
Okay, moving on then. Winter shows up officially.
Yeah,
So that's fun.
I like the little thing, the nod to Ned and the winter's coming stuff. That was good.
Mm-hmm. Dad always said it was going to come.
Well, I feel like they've done a good job of kind
Yeah.
of throwing in those things for everybody that's kind of stuck around through the entire thing and gotten to know everybody instead of just piecing them together.
Exactly. So then we have this whole sequence before we get to Bran. Well, a few sequences that are really tied together. We have Littlefinger and Sansa have their conversation. Littlefinger wants Sansa to take the throne. Essentially, the King of the North throne.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the whole King of the North scene.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my reading of that, is that Littlefinger lost for one of the first times in this show, and he is pissed.
Yeah, I mean...
I like how he finally revealed, well, we all kind of knew what he wanted.
Yes.
Like, he finally revealed his thought process. I really
Exactly.
like that he did that. Because throughout all of our seasons so far, thank you, we have known that he's got these motives, but we're not exactly sure what he's trying to do. You know, in the very first season, Varys just says, you know, he'd sit on the Iron Throne if he could just watch the world burn.
Right. He would be
King of the Ashes.
King of the Ashes.
Yeah.
Then you have the great monologue in The Climb, which was that, I think, 3rd season episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he just comes right out and says it here.
Right.
I want to be on the
Right.
Iron Throne.
And I want you to be my queen. It kind of cut out there. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Sit
Right,
by
you
his
did- yeah.
side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for the people of the North to declare Jon
Mhm.
over Sansa was a huge blow to Littlefinger's plans because
Yes.
you know his idea was, oh, you have the Stark name, Jon's a bastard, but that's not how everybody views him.
Were you guys just waiting for Littlefinger to pull something there?
No, but I watched his eyes go, alright, so now the game has changed here, so this isn't what I need to do now, and now I need to get Jon out of power, and this is how I'm going to do it, and...
See, I was waiting for him to do something, and I'm not disappointed that he didn't, because I think it's a great twist on the character, because we're so used to him having that backup plan B, C, D, E, F, G, and he
Right.
doesn't here, and he is pissed, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting
yeah.
to see how what plays out next season, and what plots he puts together.
Especially since, nice segue, Jon is not a Stark. Or a
Dun,
Snow.
dun, dun.
He is a Targaryen.
This is half Stark,
Half Stark, yes. So,
but not the important half.
now Emily, I know Ben and I are familiar with this theory. Were you familiar with the R plus L equals J
Yes.
theory? Okay.
Yeah.
Only because of me, though, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because they did not spell it out quite explicitly on the show, none of this is spoilers at this point because they said all of this. But here's the backstory for anybody who didn't quite catch what was going on. So Lyanna Stark is betrothed to Robert Baratheon, who's not the king at this point.
Right.
Remember, the king is Aerys Targaryen. His son Rhaegar Targaryen's next to the throne. Robert is just the next in line for House Baratheon. That's it. So Lyanna is betrothed to Robert Baratheon. The official story is that Rhaegar kidnaps and rapes Lyanna Stark. There is some question about did he really kidnap her? Did she go along with him and that type of thing? And the show didn't really get into that, so there are still parts of this theory that are kind of still out there waiting to be confirmed. And then she has, in the Tower of Joy, Jon Snow. Okay? The reason that the Kingsguard were there in the earlier flashback in this season is that Jon is royalty. He's Targaryen royalty.
Right.
You know, so he is Rhaegar's son. So technically, what all of this means, Jon has a better claim to the Targaryen throne than Dany does.
Oh.
Yes.
Awkward.
Awkward in the extreme. Now, he doesn't know all of this, of course, and the whole promise me thing, if you've read the first book at least, you'll remember that during Ned's chapters in that book, there are multiple times where he remembers Lyanna saying to him her dying words, promise me, and what he's promising to her is to protect her child. And so he pretends like the child is his bastard, even though it's not. So Jon is a Targaryen, is what all of this boils down to.
Yeah.
Ned Stark, the most honorable person.
Yes. The one dishonorable thing he does is not to father a bastard. It is to lie about fathering a bastard.
Right.
Jeez.
So, and none of that's spoilers at this point, I don't feel like, because it's all been it's all out there on the show, and they put it out there for you, but that's
They
the
tried to
backstory.
make it, as obvious as possible.
Exactly. Exactly. And really good editing there from the baby who was kind enough to open his eyes nice and wide to John.
I bet 3 hours.
Yes.
To get that shot.
Come on! Let's go! Oh, he's crying again. Alright. Marine. We have Dario.
Oh wait, can I just say one
yes,
more
go
thing
for
about the North? I just love Lady Mormont.
Oh,
I love when
yeah.
she speaks.
Everything about
She's
it is
wonderful.
pretty,
Yeah.
I wonder if she's in anything else.
I don't know, but she's
she's
great.
But she's got a
But
future.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
that's just excellent acting, and just the character is.
No, she
I
just,
love
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feel intimidated by her. She's like 5 years old. There's a meme on the Game of Thrones memes Facebook page where there's a picture of her and it said, "If I had 3 dragons, the show would have ended 3 seasons ago." yes, this is true.
oh, that's funny.
So Dario's going to stay in Marine. Tyrion is the hand of the Queen,
Yes.
which I was busy writing King, and then she said Queen. Oh, yeah, obviously, so I wrote over that. And that's all that really happened before the final shot, which we'll talk about when we can talk about that when we get to the very end of the episode. But we finally are going to see her go. She's going to Westeros. She's going to Westeros. Finally,
I know. This is,
it's about time.
oh man. What if it takes her the whole season to get there?
It's like,
Still
like,
on the
Day
show.
gotta stop
54,
it.
no
Gotta stop
win.
in Pentos, gotta stop in
Yes.
Bravos. Then we gotta go across the narrow sea. I'm worried now that they're on the sea, though, that they're gonna run into one of these stupid storms that can happen. And
well, maybe, but
kill. I mean, it could
Yeah.
kill like 3/4 of her troops. And now she's going there with army, but not as big as she wanted. And now what's
It
gonna
could
happen when
happen.
she gets there? And
here's my prediction. End of season 7, Dany is on the throne. She has conquered the 7 kingdoms. And the wall comes down. Season 8, the final season then, is Dany versus the White Walkers. That's what's going to happen. So she will complete
a
her...
song of ice and fire.
Exactly. Her conquest will be complete next season. That's my prediction, anyway.
Okay.
And then season 8 is all hell breaks loose.
Right.
King's Landing.
Where to begin?
Gosh. Okay. So first of all, just from a directing standpoint, which by the way, the director who did this episode has directed 3 episodes now of the show. This week, last week, and Hard Home from last season. So can we just have this guy as the permanent director? He's really nailing it.
I watched. I
Yeah.
didn't watch. I read an interview that he did with Entertainment Weekly about last week's episode,
Yeah.
and it's just he put not too much thought. He put an amazing amount of thought into the battle scenes that happened and basing it off of this battle or this battle, and he had to change the battle that he wanted it to be like because of the time constraints that he had, and
Yep.
just still pulled it off, and it was incredible. So he's just done a
He's done
fabulous
great
job.
work. I love, just from a directing artistic standpoint, the way this episode started. You guys never watched the new Battlestar Galactica, have you?
No.
Oh, well, you should sometime. It's a great show.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. But anyway, one of the things Battlestar would do a lot is during some of their season's finales or mid-season finales, they would have these kind of instrumental montages with a really good understated piece of music, and you'd have little to no dialogue. And I was thinking earlier this week, man, it would be great to see Game of Thrones do something like that, and then they do. It's like, I knew it was going to happen.
Of course.
Yeah, so it's like a Battlestar Galactica montage. I would wanted that for the show. So that was great. Okay, we have the trial takes place,
Right.
but we're cutting back and forth, and something's going on with Tom, and the mountain shows up, and
I was worried that the mountain was gonna kill Tommen right there.
right,
That's
yeah,
I was just like, okay, Cersei's just accepted the prophecy that all 3 of her kids are gonna die, and this is just how it's gonna be. She's just gonna do it herself at this point.
yeah. Tom's more of a do-it-yourselfer on that score. But, so
Oh.
Oh, too soon.
But that was the biggest shock for you, Tommen?
Yeah.
That was
Well, when
shocking.
we
I mean,
get
it
there-
was shocking.
When we get there, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Loras pleads guilty. No surprise there. They carve the 7-pointed star in his forehead.
Right.
Which you're gonna die from a wildfire explosion 5 minutes later. I could have skipped that step, you know. It's,
Right.
that would really suck.
Right.
Grandmaster Pycelle is lured down to Qyburn's lair, and at this point we don't quite realize that this is a full-on cleaning house. You're kind of thinking, or at least I'm thinking, why him? Like,
Yeah,
right.
why just taking out him?
Well, I thought, okay, well, because at that point, I thought, okay, Tommen was dead by the mountain.
Right.
So the mountain's killed Tommen, and now we're doing this, and so Cersei's just going to take over power at this point. That's kind of where I was thinking
Right.
that all this was going to go, and she was just going to be held up at the Red Keep. So I guess I hadn't quite put the pieces together at that point.
So we have Marjorie and the High Septon, their fragile alliance starts to break down. Cersei knows that you can try her anyway, and she's still not here. What does that mean? And you just feel the tension there.
Right.
Lancel follows one of Qyburn's sparrows, or little birds, little birds down into the sewers, and gets stabbed by him.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking, why Lancel? Why?
Apparently it was a very good blow where he couldn't even walk afterwards.
Right. Well, I get stabbed in the stomach. Kind of rough. But now I'm thinking, like, why Pycelle? Why Lancel? What's going on here?
Right.
Right. Like yeah.
And then Lancel starts to inch his way forward, and you see the green glow. And hats off to the show for setting this up so perfectly this season with the scene where Bran was having like all flash, and you see burn them all and Mad King Aerys, and you see the wildfire explosion, and then the reference in the conversation between Tyrion and Dany a couple weeks ago with the Mad King was going to burn everybody with wildfire and all that.
Right.
They really set this up well,
Yeah.
and then the whole thing goes up.
And we all here, Emily's sister Grace, who might be watching, I don't know, texted us on the way here, because we have to...
She was on one of these a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So she was watching, and we always have to watch a little bit later because of scheduling of everything, and so she texted us about 20 minutes into the show, probably about 8:22 or 8:23, and she went, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
In all caps, and Emily was pissed and texted her back like, "We haven't watched yet. Don't tell us what it is." And then about 20 minutes into the show, what happens? The Sept of Baelor comes tumbling down.
Now, I said I wanted to bring up Jaime again, and this is why. Part of why Jaime killed Aerys is that the backstory there is Aerys, as Robert Baratheon is coming and invading King's Landing, is planning to set the wildfire on fire. So, we've heard in the past that Jaime, and King Aerys is kind of a bad dude, so maybe Jaime did a good thing by killing him. Well, this puts it in a whole different light, because now we've seen what would have actually happened. Jaime saved the whole city, effectively, by killing the Mad King.
Right.
And it just puts his character into such a different light.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
I really had a hard time figuring out when Jaime came into the throne room and saw Cersei. When they made eye contact, I really couldn't read what that emotion was. What...
Dread? Yeah, it was great. It was a great performance.
It's interesting when your lover is now gone
what
crazy
you were
and
trying
taking
to
over.
stop.
Right. So in an instant, the High Septon, Marjorie, Loras, Mace Tyrell, all dead.
Well, they had to pay for next season somehow.
That's right.
Plus all the innocent people.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't care about them.
Right. But
Right.
I'm just,
Yes, absolutely.
That's part of the reason that the Mad King was so evil, is that he wanted to burn all of them, all of the people, no matter what. And
Right.
That's what Cersei just did, burned all
Yes. And again, going back to Jaime and that look you're talking about in that scene, is that it's all come full circle for him.
Right.
He killed Ares to prevent that, and now it's happened anyway.
Right.
Probably on a smaller scale, because I think Ares had the whole city wired with wildfire, but still, on a smaller scale, his lover just became the Mad King.
Yeah.
And then we have this scene with the septa. Shame. Oh, revenge.
Oh, do not piss off Cersei Lannister.
You know, what I kept thinking is you predicted she was going to die in this episode. Like, no, you were 100% wrong. Everyone else is going to die.
Right?
She's the only one left.
Yeah. I really... Oh, man.
Everyone else in King's Landing
But I
dead.
think last week I retracted that. I said I think it's going to be next season.
Yeah,
I think
yes.
we talked about how now she's going to go crazy.
Yes.
And she has now. She's gone. She's lost. She's not in the game anymore. She's playing her own game.
Right.
And when you play your own game, you play to lose.
Well, and now she's lost all of her children, which her children, being a mother was the only thing that made Cersei kind of human,
Right.
kind of somewhat sympathetic. And now her children are gone,
And
so...
Tommen's blood is on her hands. Because, and this is where, again, it goes to, I made the line about how the director, I forget his name, I'd love for him to direct every episode. Well, I mean, realistically, a lot of that depends on the script and the events that are going to happen. But this shot is all the director. The way that he set up this shot of the city, and you see the smoke, and Tommen's looking out the window.
So this is why I thought was the biggest shock for me.
Perfect.
Was because Tommen's looking out the window, takes out the crown, leaves, and then we sit there for forever. And I was like, I was probably about a half a second away from shouting out, "We have stuff to do, let's move on!" And then all of a sudden he comes back to the window and jumps out the window. Yes. And that's why it was the biggest shock to me, was just because I was like, let's move on, and then all of a sudden this incredible thing happened. Mm-hmm. And then,
I was loving the shot, actually. I love that they gave us the time to just kind of sit there with it. And I thought, this is great. It's a busy episode. They're giving us that time. This is how you film something like this. And then they throw that in there. Mm-hmm. And the temptation to edit there, to throw in a cut or something, and they didn't do it, and it's perfect. So perfect.
Yeah.
Very Kubrick-esque. Yes.
Alright.
And then, of course, Jaime returns. I love that we have the scene of him outside the city where he sees that something has gone wrong.
Well, typically the Septa Baelor, the second largest structure in King's Landing, not being there anymore is not a good thing, so.
Right. And then Queen Cersei. And I thought this was going to be the last scene. They gave us the icing on the cake. Dany finally sailing it.
Didn't I tell you? Well,
Yes.
Yeah, we both agreed that this would be the last scene. So.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it would be this or the Tower of Joy.
Oh. No, I knew it would be that.
I would have been a little disappointed if we had cut to credits right after Cersei. I wanted that last moment of
You
Dany
needed to
sailing.
know that she was on her way.
Yes.
Yeah, you wanted it to end positively.
Like, I don't want season 7 to open with, a few more things to do in Marine. Like, that would have just been horrible. No! Leave!
See Dario one more time.
Exactly. We don't care about Marine.
Let's go.
Yes. What an episode.
Yeah.
So much happened.
I think they're really whittling down the characters here.
Yeah, did you see the article about how Game of Thrones cast gets big raise for season 8? Not everybody, apparently. we need to re-up their contracts for season 8. We can't afford everybody. We'll blow up the set of Baylor with half the cast inside.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really we're down to the POV characters.
Uh-huh.
And that's about it.
And we've seen Jamie go from villain to hero to villain. And now it seems like the pendulum's swinging back.
I don't know. What if Jamie kills Cersei?
The Queenslayer.
Oh.
That
Killed the king and the queen.
That could
Wow.
happen.
Yeah. I think
The
there's
things you do for love, you know,
Things
he
I-
loved.
yes,
you know,
yes, that
like,
was his line.
like,
That's
he
it.
loved her so much that he doesn't want to see her become the most crazy person that she could
Wow.
be. I think that's my prediction.
That's.
That would
I
be-
can get on board with that. That's a. I like that.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts on this incredible episode?
Incredible season.
Incredible season.
I think this is the best season so far. I think they did a wonderful job of knowing that they had to pick up the pace, of now having a timeline, that they have to get done with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think they did a fabulous job with that.
Yeah, I'd probably put the best season at 3 or 4. You know, when we're kind of in that Storm of Swords material.
Right?
I guess I can understand some of the criticisms about this season when they move away from Martin. The writing isn't quite as strong for all the characters.
Right.
I get that. It's really tough for me though to be objective about this season because, like I said, almost half my life I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
Like, I've been waiting almost as long as, most of the time I've been alive, I've been waiting for Danny to steal the Westeros.
Right.
You know, that's something, and it's just really hard to be objective about it at this point.
Yeah.
I would compare it in terms of that, the quality of the writing, a little bit to, there's another fantasy series that was like 14 books long called The Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And the author, Robert Jordan, died after book 11, I think it was, 10 or 11. Yeah, he died after book 11. And then, and he's nowhere near as good a writer as Martin. But then another writer came in, Brandon Sanderson, he finished the last 3 books. And he just pounded them out, one a year for the next 3 years. And was he as good a writer as Robert Jordan? No. But when you've been waiting all that time for the series to be finished and the guy dies, it's like, I just want to see it happen, and at some point the fan service starts to become more important than the writing.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit like this. I mean, they're doing a better job. They're better writers on the show than Brandon Sanderson is. Martin's a better writer than Robert Jordan is, but the comparison kind of feels similar to me, where I had a really hard time being objective about those last 3 books just because we're finally seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't wait for next year.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Maybe we'll actually have a book by then. We say that every year.
Right.
Yeah. It was 2 years ago. And it's season 4. Oh, we'll have the book. It'll be great. Everything will be perfect.
They're never gonna pass George. What are you talking about?
George will give him an extended copy of the book. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Lies.
Alright, so that's it for this season. In the meantime, for all you people who just watched the Game of Thrones reviews, check out the podcast sometime. We've had some, Matt and I, my co-host on the podcast, we've been watching the Rocky series. So we are dual casting those podcast MP3 episodes and on YouTube. So our review of Rocky 2 is going to go up in the next day or so. And lots of fun stuff. So that's it for now. I'm Ben DeBono.
I'm Ben Kirkwell.
And I'm Emily Kirkwell.
And we'll see you next year. Goodbye.
Still trying to get over just everything that happened.
I'll turn the AC back on for us.
Oh, thank you. I looked over there. I was like, the AC is off.
Yeah, it's because it's kind of loud.